Here to have an introductory meeting for the committee members that are involved in the solicitation for request for proposal -25-00151. This is for the external auditing services. My name is Sakina and I'm the chief buyer on the project. Let's go ahead and go around the room and have everybody introduce themselves for who's here in the room, and then we'll do online. I'll start with Scott.
Yep, Scott Stromer, Director of Procurement.
Diane Riker, Chief Financial Officer for the City of Plant City.
Bill Spinelli, Chief Financial Officer for the Sheriff's Office.
John Alessi, Director of Finance for Hillsborough County Property Appraiser.
Justina Swabaki, Director of Accounting and Finance, Tax Collector's Office.
David Byrne, Tampa Sports Authority, Vice President of Finance.
Debbie Benavides, Director of Enterprise Solutions and Quality Assurance under the board.
Okay. Ajay, if you don't mind turning yours on and stating your name again, because it didn't catch.
It's the one on the right.
The one on the right.
This is Ajay Gajar, Finance Director, Clerk of Circuit Court.
Thank you. So basically, we're here to have online folks. Yes, I believe we have Christy and Mary.
Yes, Christy Perillo Jones, Director of Administration for the Supervisor of Elections.
Mary Wood, representing the Hillsborough County Tax Collector.
Perfect. Thank you. So just to let everybody know, we are here so that we can have this general meeting. I am going on ahead and recording this. It wasn't the original plan, but just so you know, we are recording. That way, the ones that are not here can come back and listen and get the information as well. Has anybody been on a committee before? Okay, a couple of us. Okay, not too bad. So what we're doing is just making sure that we get a chance to talk to everybody close to, or if not right after when a solicitation closes, so that we can just give some of the general guidelines. We can verify the responsibilities that everybody has as a committee member or as a technical advisor. And we just want to avoid any conflicts, appearances of conflicts, those kinds of things. Talk about cone of silence and a few other things. And Scott's actually here to go through most of those basics, and then we'll go on from there on the rest of it. So
Good. So again, it's Scott Stromer, the Director of Procurement for the board. So the first thing is conflict of interest. I just want to go through these. We just want to make sure that we've cleared everybody. So I'm going to read the names of the proposers that we have. We have Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, LLC, Forvis, Mazers, LLC, Clifton Larson Allen, LLP, RSM US, Crow, LLP, and Cherry Beckert, LLP. So my question is, does anybody work for any of these firms? Have you applied for a job at any of those firms? Have you worked for any of those firms in the last 2 years? Are there any conflicts at all with any of these firms? Yes, sir.
My son works.
Okay, your son? And your name again was? Okay, and you're an advisor, so we should be good. Okay, well, thank you for letting me know. And then when you get those forms, that's the main thing. So throughout this process, if you think there's a perceived conflict or something you didn't know about that you may think that would be important, just let us know. Let Sakina know right away, and then we'll try to mitigate that. So the second thing is the Sunshine Law. So the committee itself, in the committee we have is Mr. Byrne, Mr. Ingram, Mr. Enriquez, Miss Richard, is it Reichard? Reichard, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Latimer and Miss Wood. They are on the committee itself, so they'll be confined to that sunshine. So that means that they can only talk about this topic, these proposals in the sunshine in a publicly noticed meeting. The advisors, you should never meet as a group, so that shouldn't be an issue. You're really there to act as a resource for the committee members. And what I'll ask is you kind of have those conversations offline if you need research. Sakina's here, I'm here. If you have questions, if you think you need more information, that comes right to us, and then we'll get you that information. Everything funnels through us. You don't have any contact with the vendors. You don't have any contact with each other. Now, the advisors, you really shouldn't have contact with each other because you'll be, not saying you can't cross-pollinate, that the tax collector's office couldn't call Debbie's office and have questions there. You certainly can do that. So but not to talk to the vendors. And if you're on the committee, you don't talk to each other unless you're in this setting. So any questions about that at all? It's pretty standard. You're all used to that anyway. So the technical advisor's roles, like I just said, you're really there to help kind of do the research. If you have some, you've been selected because you have some inside knowledge just on how this works, how external audits work, but you're there as a resource for the committee itself. But you're not to score. It's not your role. Your role is just provide information. And when we're going to have you meet as a group with the committee so they can, ask you questions, get your advice, what were your impressions, and then it's going to be left to the committee to actually score and to rank and to make a recommendation that will ultimately then go to the board. Any questions about that at all? Yes, sir.
Go ahead and use your microphone, please. That's okay.
Yes, I just had a question about, since RSM is the incumbent, I thought there was Audrey, about the 5 years. Can they be awarded again, or?
Yes, they can respond to the RFP, but there's some negative points since they're the incumbent firm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a if I recall, you got a lot of 5-point deduct for that, but yes, they would be eligible. Yes, yes, sir. Okay. Any questions about that at all? Now, scoring itself, now, Sakina, I'm going to leave her to go through the criteria with you and all of that, but the scoring and what we're evaluating against is the actual RFP we have now and their proposals, nothing else. And the criteria that we have, that's what it's to be weighed against. And when the committee scores and when you're reviewing with the context of that scoring, it can be done a couple different ways, and it'll be left to the committee on how they want to do this. If they want to do it through consensus scoring, that they review everything and they come in and they just have those discussions. You may have some preliminary ideas. You may have some personal notes to yourself. Keep in mind that your personal notes are your personal notes. They are not public record. They're only public record once you start sharing them. So if you have your notes, that's for you. If it's just for recollection's sake, if you have some finer points you want to bring up to the committee, you can certainly do that. You can either do it, like I said, through that consensus where they just kind of all have an agreement. We agree that this firm gets this score, whatever, or the committee can decide to score it, bring it in, and then it becomes a math problem. We'll do it. And then they could have some more deliberations and talk through that if they want to. So that's fully up to the committee. I don't want you to decide that now, talking to the committee, because I don't know how close they'll be. It may be very, very apparent who the clear one is, but if it gets down to where they're really close in qualifications, I want you to have that ability to have some little flexibility. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question. Has the RFP already been put on the street and these are the 5 responders already?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And we have
And
not seen the
6 responses.
responses yet.
Right.
Okay.
And that's intentional. I want to have this, make sure I didn't have any conflicts before I actually get to the information, so I don't have to claw it back from you. So Sakina and the team have actually hard copies of all the proposals for you. They've got a copy of the current agreement, I believe. So they have all of that. And there's a SharePoint site that we'll have that all the information will be there. Because embedded in some of those proposals, there are links to things. And so you'll be able to get to those links through that SharePoint access. So you'll have that. Keep in mind though, but once you get these packets and enjoy the reading, I won't tell you how it ends, but I think they all start with, it was a dark and stormy night. So, but as you go through them, if you need information individually, you just let us know. Say, listen, I saw this, I didn't quite agree with this, and let us know what you need. That's our job, is to make sure you get all the information you need. Now we've got some meetings already kind of stacked up for you just to kind of get on your calendars, because you're very, very busy people. But understand, we will take the time it needs to make the right decision. If you need additional time, you're going to have that. You're not on a set timeline. Obviously, we'd like to get it done before the sun burns out, but it's important that you have the time you need and you don't have that undue pressure thinking that you have to get done by a certain date. If you meet the next time when you actually start to deliberate, what's nice about the deliberations and those that have been through this is people pick up different things in the proposals. They can be very instructive as you're talking through that. And so as a result, you may need more time to think about that and maybe go back and look at it. I don't want you to feel like you've got to score it there. If you're not ready, you say you're not ready. Okay? Any questions about all of that at all from me? We're good? You feel good about it? It's very exciting, very exciting. Okay. Okay, great. Sakina?
Yep. So if you did not write down all the names, don't worry. Your packet does have a list of all the respondents right on top. It also includes a general review of what procurement has done to, kind of make sure nothing's obviously going on, in there, which is why we found links and things in there that you may need to look at. So what we've done is just a very basic review with a few bullet points that is also included in here on where there might have been links or there were some obvious deviations that were presented. So that's also part of your packet. Your packet also has the evaluation criteria in a sample scoring sheet that will be ready for everybody to use in your evaluation process individually. So you all have that as well. Your evaluation criteria, just to go through that quickly, is the first one is the approach and methodology. And again, these will be you're getting with your packet. Number 2 is your proposer's organizational experience with local governments of similar types, structure, and scale. That's their enterprise fund, programs, operations, funding sources, and the Florida local governments, etc. Proposers, number 3 is the proposer's experience and with audits involving similar ERP systems and other complex accounting systems. And then number 4 is your proposer's organization, general qualifications, and relevant experience. The number 5 criteria is the cost total, which will be scored in the system by procurement. There is an option for them to request the DM, the DWBE bonus points. That is reviewed through economic development, and those will all be announced at the last meeting we have. And then that incumbent staff deduction that was asked about earlier, that'll be reviewed. I'll be talking to Ajay about how we want to make sure we review that so we can identify who needs those deductions identified. So I believe you'll be able to review that, correct, Ajay?
Yeah.
Okay, I had a note to make sure that I was going to be doing that with you, so.
So just one thing on the criteria. So obviously those that have been through this process, you are confined to that criteria. If you have other things, you can't, like, I don't like blue shoes. Well, that's, if it's not on there, that's not a thing. So do you have a question?
So does those criteria follow the Florida statute, section 218? Or are they just criteria for the county? Do you have to fall under the auditing standards for the statute?
I think we're following.
Okay, there's just specific criteria that you have to evaluate on based on the statute, the Florida statute. Did you look up the Florida statute at all? Because it doesn't sound like the same ones to me, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, we'll take another look at that, but these should fit within all of the statutory requirements because the statutory requirements are identified in the RFP as well. All the
Okay.
links are there that they're supposed to be following all of those guidelines.
I mean, just specifically for audit selection committees. It's specifically audit, not just your procurement Florida statutes. I'm talking about the audit Florida statutes.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. But
Okay.
I have a feeling
Yeah.
that it's embedded in there and these are probably just the buckets where they'll go.
Okay,
But yeah, but we
Right.
can review that.
and we were appointed by the commission, is that how, the Board of County Commissioners?
No, each constitutional officer.
Sorry, Ajay. There you go, thank you.
Yeah, so each constitutional officer selected their own representative. And also the board, we had to go to the Board of County Commissioners to have the representative appointed for the board.
So the other thing I want to mention about the proposals, so when you get the proposals, the proposals are not public record. They are going to be sealed for the 30 days. I think we received these on the 20th. Was that?
The
what it was?
20th.
So they're technically still not public record till April 20th roughly. So the reason I say that is please don't share them with anybody that does not have a need to know. Because we'll start to get public records requests following April 20th. We're going to try to get you through this process. The reason why that 30 days is there, so there is no undue influence, and we don't have that pressure. You have the time you need to do it without all kind of stuff coming in. And Sakina will tell you, I don't know if there's any confidentiality, but she'll go through that with you as well. So I don't think there was anything that was confidential. So let's keep that in mind. When you get these, if you just kind of keep them, not top secret, but they're just not public record. Okay.
We did have a couple of the documents that we verified that had some notations of copyright or might have had the word proprietary on there, and it was confirmed with all vendors that all the documents are shareable. So there's no conflicts on any of that. So we are good there. All right, so next thing I want to talk about is there will be a share file location besides the hard copies that we're giving you today. I'm still working on finalizing to set that up, so you guys will get an email from me with that link access so that you can get into those files. So that will be a secure place just for you guys to be able to access. If you do need to communicate with me, since most of you are not within the county or us specifically, you can feel free to email me or give me a phone call. But just make sure you're emailing me and me only. Don't copy each other on things. Sometimes we forget that. So just wanted to make sure you know that. I have a current meeting schedule of Monday, April 7th at 1 p.m. for the first committee meeting. And I did get a confirmation, I believe, from everyone that that was going to be okay. Yes, looks like we're going to be okay there. I also had an okay from everybody on Thursday, April 10th at 8 a.m. as well. And we don't have to start right at 8 a.m. I just needed to reserve the room for 8 a.m. But just so you know, Thursday at 8 a.m. on April 10th. The meeting we had scheduled on April 14th, I do have one conflict with a committee member. So we will be looking to find a reschedule because those do have to be in person. Technical advisors do not have to be in person, but the committee members do. So that one will likely be getting changed because of a conflict. Does anybody have conflicts with those first two meetings that I just mentioned? Okay, perfect. And I will re-verify that just to make sure. We do have a couple items that we need to make sure we're clarifying. First off is going to be who is taking on the chairperson role for the committee. I don't know if there was already somebody in mind or already somebody asked, if Ajay had asked already, but we need to identify a chairperson from the 6 people that are on the committee.
6 people. Would the 6 people select their own chairman?
I'm sorry.
Would the actual committee members select their own chairman?
They can.
They
Yeah,
can.
Chair.
There's some agreement. Yep. So again, that's Mr. Byrne, Mr. Ingram, Mr. Enriquez, Ms. Reichard, Mr. Latimer, and Ms. Wood. Are you
Yes.
interested?
Yes, I'll be the chair. Do I have to come to the board meeting? At the end, will I have to be at the county commission meeting when you present?
I don't believe so. I don't know
Okay.
that we've ever, shouldn't be necessary. If I do my job right, no.
Okay, all right.
Can I interject on that? On actually reading through the statute, it says one member of the auditor selection committee must be a member of the governing body of an entity specified in the paragraph, who shall serve as chair of the committee, which to me would mean it's someone from the board. Is there someone from the board on the,
But you have
Committee?
some constitutionals here. I don't know. Ajay, do you know?
or Ajay, you'll know better than me.
Okay, I think you are appointed by the board.
Understood. Okay.
As
Gotcha.
the board chairman selected you.
Okay. Understood.
So he can be the committee leader? You mean he has to be the committee leader?
I don't know. But
When I originally read this, it sounded to me as if there was a member of the board as part of the selection committee. At least that's how I
That's
understood
how I
it.
read it too. That's how I
Board
read it too.
It
Yeah.
was what we thought we had read. So.
Right.
That's what my attorney has always opined, is that we used to have just a member of the board was optional. And this last year, as CFO of the Plant City, I couldn't even serve on the committee. I could be an advisor, but I couldn't serve on the committee. And we had to have someone from
My
the
understanding, yeah.
elected body had to be the chairman of the committee itself.
Yeah, one member of the
So-
auditor selection committee must be a member of the governing body of the entity.
That just changed 2 years ago, so 2 or
This
3
is
years ago.
2024.
Yeah. So,
So we have a couple of the constitutionals that are part of the evaluation
Okay.
committee.
Okay.
So I think we'll be covered if one of them takes that role.
And we can postpone that decision, quite
Yeah.
frankly. We can double check if there's concerns there. I just, again, we'll check with the clerk's office. The clerk's office kind of takes the lead
Yeah.
on this. So we'll confer with them and double check that, so.
And I'll give you this copy of this. There's,
well, I think we have it.
as Diane was saying, there's also some selection or some criteria that's worded specifically as well. I just want to make sure we're
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yep.
on the right
Yep.
foot before we take a
Yep.
step.
Now, we'll wrap that in with the other question that you had, and we'll get with Audrey's office, and so they can revisit that.
Yes.
To make sure that they're good. So we can put that off until your first meeting. That's easy.
You know.
You are gonna have, because we don't want to burn the time, when you get the proposals, I think it's checking the references. And I think I would just probably say the advisory, it may be helpful. If I don't have who's the chair and all of that, do you have a thought on that?
So your question is who should check the references on the advisory committee?
Yeah, or should the advisory committee, is your intention to have the advisory committee maybe check references?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so are you planning, Ajay, to take that role and maybe assign that out between the advisors?
Yes. Yes. So yes.
Okay.
And we have a number of firms, so we could spread it out,
Correct.
the checking of references.
So it'll be you and the other advisors that do those reference checks that can come prepared for that first meeting with what you have
Yes.
found.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna make a note.
So the
there.
committee itself, those that are on the committee, nobody has any objections to having the advisory committee just get that information for you, check references,
yeah. that'd be
see what their
great.
clients are, so they can bring that to that meeting and kind of report to you. You're good with that?
Yeah, it's better than the references receiving 12 phone calls.
Right.
That's correct. Right. Okay, and then the last thing that I had, which Ajay again may need to answer, we do have the resumes and documentation and some of the proposers have documented where they don't have anybody that has been reviewing over the last couple of years, but somebody's going to have to, because I don't know who you've had in your office doing them in the past 5 years. So the resume checks and making sure we can determine who needs that incumbent staff deduction.
Yes. So I'll check the names to see if they've worked on the audit.
Okay, so I'll make sure that that is documented, that you will do that as well. Perfect, that's what I wanted to make sure of. Does anybody have any other questions at this point?
Leave it to me.
Yes.
So we talked about RSM being the incumbent auditor. How long have they been here at the county?
This will be their 6th audit.
The 6th audit?
Yes.
Okay. And who was before them?
It was Cherry Beckert.
So Cherry Becker didn't even submit this
They did.
time,
No,
right?
they did.
They did? Okay.
Hey, Scott.
Is it out
Just-
of line to ask his opinion at this point? No, we should just read them clear.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
wait till next meeting. This won't be an
Okay.
evaluation here. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Just to save you some time, I pulled up the statute and the criteria is up to us to determine on. So it just says, establish factors to use for the evaluation of audit services to be provided by a CPA firm duly licensed under Chapter 473. To conduct audits, such factors shall include but are not limited to ability of personnel, experience, ability to furnish the required services, and other such factors as may be determined by the committee.
Which is all encompassed in
Right,
the categories we already have, so.
But we will double check just to make sure. We'll get with Ajay's office and we'll double check and Debbie, yeah. I think we're good, but yeah, so.
Okay, so the last things I just needed to discuss with everybody was like handing out the packets and getting you to sign your disclosures before you leave. So I have disclosure specifically for the committee members and then for the advisory team. And as I get these signed by you, I can go ahead and hand out the packet. Again, your packet does have your proposers list of names, the review notes that we have gone through, your sample scoring sheet, the bid documents, the question and answers that went out as part of the process, and those 6 responses specifically. So you will have everything, I believe, that would be pertinent at this point. Again, if you do have any questions or feel like there's something missing that you need, if you just want to give me a quick message by email or give me a quick call and we can discuss that from there. So
Ask
yes.
a quick question. Does the process contemplate an interview phase of this, or are we fully making the decision based off the packets?
We did schedule meetings with the possibility of some oral presentations,
Okay.
but it is at the committee's discretion if you choose to do that. I would just want to make you aware that oral presentations are meant to be a clarification of what you've already received in the proposals, not really to get new information.
Okay.
But it's the committee that can decide that.
Okay,
together.
understood. And then I know we've outlined 3 different meetings. Is there a specific objective for the 3 different meetings, or it's just we're thinking it's going to take us 3 meetings to get through everything we need to? Are we, I guess a short way of saying that is if we wrap up on April 7th and we know our answer and we're ready to go, are we done on April 7th?
You would have that option,
potentially?
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
So we just try to get on your calendar just in case you needed more
We
time.
need more time.
Yeah, that second one would be, so the first meeting, maybe if you decide you want a short list, because you've got, several firms, you may want to take it down to 2 or 3 and bring them in. And what Sakina is saying that if you shortlist and you score those firms, when you have the interviews, it doesn't reset and you start at 0. You're hoping that when they present, they stand in front of you, they're confirming your decision. Now, if they say something that you misunderstood, like that's not completely what we didn't think you said that in your proposal, you could revise that score if you needed to. You just have to have the basis and the justification for it. But again, the committee will drive the process, the time you need. Do you want engagement? If you need to have 2 interviews with them, or if you have those interviews and you're not really feeling any of them, if we need to go back to the pool, you'll have that option. So you'll have a lot of latitude.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do typically those 3 meetings on purpose, so we have the room for you to decide if you want a short list, have an orals presentations on the books, and then a follow-up meeting on the books afterwards. So again, we may or may not need all of them depending on where you are on the 7th.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions online or anybody? Okay. I feel really good about this. If you guys don't mind checking with me on getting your form signed, and I actually have the packets right here to hand out to you as we go.
But you can probably close the meeting.
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and close it up. And Christy and the rest of you, I will get in contact with you guys specifically about getting the packets to you.
Thank you very much.
Sure, not a problem. Those that weren't here, we'll get them. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Recording.